It's a
And
bubble.
yeah, I mean, that's the next thing I want to get to. We're now just past $34 trillion in debt. And the thing is, Steve, I have always believed that deficits matter. And I know that there's some, discussion with among economists but the idea that you continue to pile up trillions, $34 trillion. There isn't a great country in the history of the universe that hasn't collapsed. Yeah. And I feel like both parties, let's just be blunt, both parties love to spend and we're not serious about it. And so number one, how concerned are you about the spending?
Oh, well, the spending is, massively out of control. The Republicans just agreed to a new budget with Biden. I think Mike Johnson, the new speaker, did a pretty good job here, given the hand that he holds. Let's face it, the Democrats, Chucky Schumer runs the Senate, Joe Biden runs the White House. Republicans have a tiny majority in the House. If you want to fix this budget, Mike Johnson, as good a speaker as he has been, he can't do it. We need a new president. If you don't get a new president, we are headed for $34 to $50 trillion. By the way, Sean, let's say you and I went out tonight and we had a big party and we had champagne and caviar and lobster and we were dancing on the tables and blah, 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 and then we just paid for it with our credit card. That's great, except we're not going to be able to get out of bed the next morning. That's kind of what we're doing with our federal budget right now.
Yeah. But the difference is that we wake up, we would, let's hypothetically, right? And we look at the receipt and go, "Oh my goodness, this means I now have to go to work later." And because MasterCard or Visa or American Express doesn't care. I feel like these guys taking a hangover pill before they go to bed. They wake up and they're like, "Let's do it again."
Let's do it again. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
But so
incidentally, one of the biggest buyers of our debt are the Chinese. So what this means is our kids are going to owe the Chinese children what money? I mean, it's what I call.
So if you were advising President Trump, I look the big drivers of this are entitlement programs, Social Security, Medicare, et cetera. What President Trump, God love him for what he did to the economy and everything else, but debt. And there was reasons, and I'm not trying to pile on. I mean, we had to deal with the global pandemic, et cetera. But if and when he returns for a second term, what does Steve Moore tell him about how to address the debt?
Well, he's got the right agenda. I mean, I just met with the president a few weeks ago out in Mar-a-Lago. We spent about 45 minutes talking about this. And I asked him, what are some of the first things you're going to do to turn around this economy and the debt? And he had it right on. He said, first of all, he said, I'm going to have a stack of executive orders 1 inch thick on my desk on January 22nd, 2025. And we're going to reverse all these crazy executive orders that Biden has put into place, which have been nooses around the neck of our business, because we have to grow. We have to grow the economy, or we're never going to get the debt down. And then he said, look, we're going to drill. You're going to use American oil and gas. Think of how many people we could put employed in jobs. Think of how we could actually reduce our trade and our budget deficit. When you produce oil at home, guess what? You get tax revenues from that. You're not sending the money to Saudi Arabia and Iran and Russia. And then he's talking about, having some spending restraint in Washington. But you got to get the economy. This because you talked to Larry Kudlow, our mutual buddy. You got to get growth up. And there's no reason we can't have this economy growing at 3 to 4%, not the measly 1.5% it's grown under Biden.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Last time we balanced the budget in the mid-90s, it was largely because we got things moving. But it does need to be coupled with spending restraint.
That's right.
I want to read you something funny because you just said that you had met with President Trump. This is out of Yahoo this morning. It says, Trump is promising to reduce inflation. His plans may reignite it. Here's why I want to read it to you. It says, Trump's enormously disruptive policy proposals come as he appears likely to jettison the more cautious and establishment-friendly economic advisors that restrained his most nationalist and confrontational impulses during his first term. These advisors, such as former Treasury Steven Mnuchin, now find themselves either at war with Trump or receding from his inner circle, potentially empowering more fringe voices. Are you one of those fringe voices, Steve Moore?
Well, I don't know if I'm a fringe voice, but I know this. I love what Donald Trump did for the economy.
But don't you think it's funny that we look back at the policies that were under, and you and Larry Kudlow and others were advising him, and yet unemployment was historically low. Yeah. The economy was humming. Inflation was low, as you just pointed it out. And that's how they categorize this. What? I'm sorry. Can you juxtapose that to Biden? I'll take the fringe advisors any day if those are the results we get.
Well, I'll just give you one kind of funny anecdote about that, which is that when Biden came out with this massive spending spree, there were, believe it or not, you're not going to believe this, Sean, there were 12 Nobel Prize economists who signed on with Biden. And they said, don't worry, Biden's spending spree won't cause inflation. Now, are those the people who we're supposed to be listening to? I mean, if I had said something like that, I'd send back my, PhD. I said, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. So, the thing I love about Trump is he has great advisors. Larry Kudlow, some of the smartest people, Kevin Hassett. And look.
And great results, by the way.
Simple. This election is so simple. This is what I told Trump. You just do exactly what Ronald Reagan did in 1980. You look right in that camera when you're in front of 150 million people debating Joe Biden, and you ask the question, you know this question, right, Sean? Are you better off than you were 4 years ago?
All right. Steve Moore, last question. This article in Yahoo says that President Trump will have to decide what to do with Jerome Powell. Never in history has a president fired a Fed chair. They're suggesting he might do it. Would you advise him to fire Jerome Powell?
Oh, absolutely. I would get rid of Jerome Powell. I think there's so many good people. How about Larry Kudlow for the Fed?
Sure. I'll do it. Steve Moore. There you go. You guys can battle it out. There's plenty of jobs.
By the way, I told Trump that one of his biggest mistakes was appointing Jerome Powell in the first place. Powell's policies contributed to the 9% inflation that we haven't seen in 50 years in this country.
Yeah. Steve Moore, thanks for joining us. Happy 2024. And I hope you keep advising President Trump, because we need more of those policies and less of the ones that we have.
Thanks, Sean.
You bet.